if you can't stand the heat. Stay out of the kitchen.
Donald Trump will become the 47th President of the United States.
There is no time to waste. We have to leave. Right now. He's coming for me. I know he is. He's everywhere. Everywhere.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
You look at that mess that she's got to look at every
Rosie
night.
O'Donnell's disgusting.
Take a look at her. She's a slob. Rosie is. We're all a little chubby, but Rosie's just worse than most. She talks like a truck driver.
We need to go. Now.
This is the final boarding call for Ryanair Flight 267 to Dublin. Could the O'Donnell family please proceed immediately to Gate 13?
Welcome to Dublin, Ireland. Trump derangement syndrome claims first victory as American emigrates to Ireland, citing president as sole reason. Dublin, Ireland. The Republic of Ireland welcomed a new citizen today, and in a statement released to the Irish media, the individual explicitly cited President Donald Trump as the sole impetus for their relocation. While the Trump administration has focused heavily on deporting illegal immigrants, this case presents a unique scenario. According to sources familiar with the situation, the individual, identified a vocal critic of the president, willingly left the United States, motivated by their strong opposition to the administration's policies. This person freely enjoyed the benefits of American society, the source stated, despite contributing little and lacking any demonstrable skills or redeeming qualities. Unlike typical deportation cases involving immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, and court orders, this individual's departure was entirely voluntary. It looks like the Irish weren't as lucky as we are because it means they now have to put up with a delusional Trump hater, the source stated. America has finally got rid of one of these leftist lunatics for good. Their decision to leave the United States under these circumstances is undoubtedly a curious development in the ongoing political divide. Americans will no longer have to put up with the ramblings of Rosie O'Donnell.
Well, there's the President of the United States that has it out for me and has for 20 years. When I told the truth about him on a program called The View.
The View is a daytime talk show hosted by and for simpletons.
Where it was my job to talk about pop culture, politics.
You're talking bullshit.
And I mentioned his bankruptcies, and I mentioned all of the sexual assault charges, and I mentioned that he was not, in fact, the businessman that everyone thinks he is because of the show The Apprentice, where they sold a bunch of lies to America for over 10 years, and half of America believed it.
You sure about that?
And so he was very angry, to say the least.
Trump is in the news again because because his show The Apprentice is starting again in January.
Oh, yeah.
He held a big press conference to see if he was going to allow Miss USA, such a prestigious title, to regain and retain. Miss America is the prestige. Miss USA is a different thing.
Representing America in a bathing suit.
Yes, it's basically a model competition. Let's be realistic, okay?
What about peace in the world? They always want peace in the world.
They have one question in Miss USA.
And they always say,
I'd like to cure cancer and end world hunger. And then I'd like to go to Studio 54 and do some crack.
What do you mean by that?
This young girl, Tara Connor, how old is she? 21. She went out and she was partying. She's from Kentucky.
So cute.
She went to New York and she was hanging out at all the parties, doing what Paris and Lindsay do, dancing, whatever. And so he held a press conference to announce whether or not she was going to retain her crown.
Yeah.
And then she started to cry.
She did.
So I just want to thank Donald for giving me a second chance.
What a prick.
Brilliant. And there he is, hair looping, going, everyone deserves a second chance.
You're hard, showing off.
And I'm going to give her a second chance.
Your hair is perfect for that.
Listen, he annoys me on a multitude of levels. He's the moral authority. Left the first wife, had an affair. Left the second wife, had an affair. Had kids both times, but he's the moral compass for 20-year-olds in America. Donald, sit and spin, my friend. Sit and spin, my friend. He inherited a lot of money. Wait a minute. And he's been bankrupt so many times where he didn't have to pay.
People have been bankrupt, but he's come back.
The people beneath him who he owed money to got shorted out of the money, but he got to again, try again and again. And you know what saved him the second time? After his father died, with that money, he paid off all his bankruptcy. This is not a self-made man. He's going to sue me, but he'll be bankrupt by that time, so I won't have to worry. But I don't know. I just think that this man is like sort of one of those, snake oil salesmen in Little House on the Prairie. You remember that episode where the guy would come in with a lot of bottles and everybody would be like, ooh, and then he'd leave and little Laura Ingalls would go, Dad, I don't think there's anything in this bottle. Well, you're right, Half-Pint. That man was full of crap. What? He's using her personal issues of her drug issues and underage drinking, and she's supposedly used cocaine. That's the what's in the paper. Yeah. And he's using it like the A&E show Intervention. Donald is going to give her an intervention. Here I come to save the day.
Maybe I'll get in trouble for this, but wasn't she kissing another little teenage girl? Maybe that got to Donald. Maybe he likes that.
Yeah.
You know how they love to watch two women making out.
It wasn't a woman. It was an underage girl. It was a teen girl, right?
Yeah.
If you're 20 years old and you got a crown and you want to kiss someone, make sure they're of legal age. That's my advice.
The girl was what?
Yes. And he hasn't let it go, and he sort of uses me as a punchline whenever he feels the need.
You serious?
I spend like pretty much 90% of my waking hours tweeting hatred towards this administration.
Oh, you need to quit lying.
Well, you say he uses, you as a punchline. He was meeting the Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, in the Oval Office last week. You're over here, kind of minding your own business.
Yes.
And this happens.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people. Great attitude. Many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question. Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is?
Yeah. I'm joking.
You're better off not knowing.
President Trump. Yeah, there it is. There he is in all his glory.
How does it feel watching that?
Very, very surreal, I have to tell you. He's been doing it for 2 decades, and I'm still not used to it every time he does. But, I felt very troubled that they put the Taoiseach in that position and didn't treat him with the respect that a leader of that kind deserves when they're visiting the White House. And I wrote the Taoiseach with a little note, apology. Got a note back that they had received it and thanked me. But I just wanted him to know the history and what happened and why he seems to be out to get me in ways that are startling to most.
Are you crazy?
You stuck out the last Trump presidency. What's different about this one for you that made you realize you're out?
Well, right away was the problem with Project 2025, which the Heritage Foundation put out, and it detailed what they wanted to do. And I felt that anyone who read that would not be able to sleep as an American.
What type of stuff was in that?
Well, gutting all of the social programs, as he has been doing.
So that was a f***ing lie.
I have a child who has autism, and that child will be denied services, and many, many autistic children, because the funding for these programs for special needs children comes from the federal government as well as the states, and it's going to be disastrous for children on the spectrum.
How?
And that was terrifying, but the biggest reason that it was different than the first time he was in office is because of the Supreme Court giving him ultimate power, the powers of a king or a monarch. And that's not what the United States is all about. And it's a terrifying prospect. And in fact, what has happened since he's taken office has been terrifying, I think.
Well, you did, though.
For the world and definitely for the United States of America.
Shut the fuck up, cunt.
A lot of people did vote for him.
Yes.
Do you accept their right to do that and their opinion of him?
Well, I respect their right to do that. I question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state. and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet.
Are you mad?
So I would hope that that would be investigated and that we would see whether or not it was an anomaly or something else that happened on election night in America when Kamala Harris was filling up stadiums.
Well, this is a Kamala Harris rally, and you would think, I mean, liberals have told me, I mean, look at that upper deck right there. Liberals told me this is like the most hype they felt since Obama in 2008. This is amazing. They can't even sell half of the upper deck in an arena there.
And Donald Trump was not able to do that.
This is what a Trump rally looks like. Trump didn't have empty seats, even in New York.
And Donald Trump was not able to do that.
Come on, man.
So it's curious to me. And as an American and a believer in democracy, I would hope that we would be able to look at all of the reasons why this happened in our country.
How do you think America has changed in the months since he's been elected?
Well, if you talk to any Americans, they're all in shock, or at least the ones that I know. I will have to say I don't really have many people in my life that support him. I don't really understand how people could support a convicted felon and a man who has had so many charges against him and has the moral compass of a teenage boy.
Boring.
And it's heartbreaking, I think, to most of the people in America, and they're slowly waking. They're slowly waking to realize the cuts that he's making are not only going to affect the left-wing liberals that are woke, that they are afraid of and despise.
In reality, he's basically more popular than he was at any point in term number one, and more popular than he was when he won election back in November of 2024. The bottom line is Trump is more towards the ceiling than he is towards the floor.
And it seems very strange to me that the President of the United States has so many friends who are sexual abusers.
Boring.
The foundation of our country is a melting pot of people, all created equal, and that they are to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we're promised as Americans. And to think that cruelty and lack of empathy is a value that is sprouted from the highest office in our country is overwhelmingly sad to me personally, and it felt like way too much to take. I feel on the verge of crying when I was there, when he got elected. I luckily had a plan with my therapist. Hope she's watching. Hi, Ann. And I said to her, should he be elected, which none of us thought was going to happen, I need a plan.
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that?
I'm 100% Irish on my 23andMe. So there was no option.
You sure about that?
There are many, many Americans who are so disappointed in what has happened since he's taken office.
He's actually more popular now than he was when he won.
Do you think there'll ever be a time where you'll make the journey back to America?
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Okay.
Well, you know, I'd like to stay until my daughter is out of high school, and she'll be entering secondary school in August. And so I would like to stay until she's done with high school.
Thank God.
The evidence is clear. Rosie O'Donnell, a smooth-brained, low-intelligence, knuckle-dragging narcissist, has had Donald Trump living in her head rent-free for 20 years because his response to her unhinged rant destroyed her and made her a laughingstock.
Well, Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting. I mean, both inside and out. You take a look at her, she's a slob. She talks like a truck driver. Rosie attacked me personally because I was very happy when her talk show failed. The other thing that failed, and this was a real monster, and everybody was suing her, was her magazine. Her magazine called Rosie was a total disaster. So I loved it. I gloat over it. I think it's wonderful because I like to see bad people fail. Rosie failed. I'm happy about it. She's basically a disaster. Well, she called me a snake oil salesman. And, coming from Rosie, that's pretty low, because when you look at her and when you see the mind is weak. I don't see it. I don't get it. I never understood. How does she even get on television? I believe Barbara made a terrible mistake putting her on, and I think Barbara's probably paying a big price. If I were running The View, I'd fire Rosie. I mean, I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. I'd say, Rosie, you're fired. We're all a little chubby, but Rosie's just worse than most of us. But it's not the chubbiness. Rosie is a very unattractive person, both inside and out. Rosie's a person that's very lucky to have her girlfriend. And she better be careful, or I'll send one of my friends over to pick up her girlfriend. Why would she stay with Rosie if she had another choice? She's trying to use ABC and The View to get even with me. But with me, we fight back. I'll probably sue Rosie because she doesn't tell the facts. As an example, I'm worth many billions of dollars. Now, she said I was bankrupt. I never went bankrupt. So probably I'll sue her because it would be fun. I'd like to take some money out of her fat ass pockets. I actually think they ought to look at her whole life and see where she's coming from, because I think she's got some very deep-seated problems. Perhaps it should be Rosie that goes to rehab. Rosie is a loser. You imagine what Kelly has to put up with living with this pig face.
Have you had a chance to speak to Barbara Walters yet?
Yes, Barbara Walters called me. She was terrific. She said a lot of things that I won't reveal now, but Barbara Walters, I think, has her hands full with Rosie. Her girlfriend cannot be happy. You look at that mess that she's got to look at every night, that she's got to kiss every night. She can't be thrilled kissing Rosie O'Donnell. Can you imagine that? What's worse than that?
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.